I've been asked to look at this Argox OS-214 Plus label printer. Apparently it's like slipping. I've actually got some footage of it slipping and not feeding properly, and gears slipping and stuff like that. This is like a label spindle. We put roll labels in there and the spindle sits in there like that and just rolls through. Comes through the front. Know nothing about it. What I do know is that it's not feeding and it's clicking like it's slipping the gears. So I'm going to pull this thing apart and we'll have a closer look at it. There's two levers here. You push those back, that releases this bit as it tips backwards. We've got a roller in here. Seems kind of fine. There's a bit of dust and stuff in there, as you kind of expect. I'm guessing there's like a thermal printer ribbon. There's usually a thermal ribbon will go in here because it's a thermal printer. So it'll be a thermal loader there, which then comes around to a waste spool, which goes here, and the labels will be fed from the back. In the back here, it will feed through. In this path, it's got a guide here to stop them moving over, because there's narrow labels and it doesn't use full width. And that will then come through here, and it's got this tear off piece here, and it looks like there's labels stuck underneath that. I can actually see some label on there, but it's got this panel here which kind of wants to come out but doesn't want to come out. It looks like it lifts up, but this is holding it in the way. So I'll tip this back. You can see there's a label in here stuck in there, and this does kind of lift up but it doesn't want to come all the way out, so because that plate is in the way. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. See, yeah. Don't forget to do it. Okay. There we go. So there's two screws here. Can't feel anything underneath that label. So I'm not quite sure how this assembles yet. Plastic screw. That screw hole's smaller. Why can't I get the screwdriver down that one? That's weird. That's really weird. One screw hole is much smaller than the other. What the hell is that? Strange. Okay. I've got a smaller screwdriver. It's not exactly the right one, but it gets down. It's long enough to reach. Let's get that screw out. There's that screw. Okay. Now, there could be screws underneath the feet. There could be. Let's just see what we get first. Okay, there we go, that's separating off there. Okay, so that's allowed the top cover to come free. And there we go, we're in. That was easier than I thought it was going to be actually. Let's get this label out of here. That wasn't really interfering with anything. That was just stuck to the bottom of this plate. So that may not be what's wrong. Let's check these gears, make sure they look okay. There's a bit of dust in there and stuff, but you know. Generally it's looking kind of okay. These gears aren't wanting to turn. But if I turn this one, it should be a motor down there, I think. Looks like a gear motor there. Yeah, there we go, that's turning there. Okay. So that is turning there. So that's not bound up there. Maybe I'll just give it a clean. Right, that's that part. So the top part also has a motor in it. Well, a drive linkage. Okay, it seems to be right if I'm driving it from this side. Well, it's quite stiff though. That's surprisingly stiff. I mean, that label that was stuck down here, that would have not actually affected anything. Unless it was stuck to a roller before I peeled it off. That's possible. I can't see any signs of like worn gears or stripped gears. Just go right through a revolution trying to check them all, but no, that all looks alright. It is fairly stiff though, so I'm not quite sure what's actually making that so hard to turn. This has probably got a clutch on it, which would be why that one's stiff, but even that feels a bit excessive. I'm actually wondering if it's the motor itself which is stiff, because that's moving okay there. It might be the motor itself which is quite stiff. Let's take these 4 screws out that I can see and lift this assembly out and let's have a look. Well, so I just took out the 4 screws, there's 2 here, 2 there. Let's see what happens when we lift this up. Not sure how long the wires are. Not very long it was saying. Right, can I unhook this? Yeah, some plugs there. earth strap. So that's just stepper motor. That's all it is just a big stepper motor right there. Okay, well, the shaft is sliding around okay. I can see the back of the stepper. Got a couple of big caps in there. Let's have a quick look at those, make sure they look okay. Small cap there looks alright. That cap there looks alright. It's like 2005. Those other caps look okay. I think it just needs a good clean inside here. Pretty uneventful so far, isn't it? Just want to just clean this roller up a little bit. A bit of IPA on this tissue here. Just try and get any glue residue off this roller, because there is some on there. And I'll do the same for this plate here as well, and get it off the back edge of that plate and on the top of the plate and stuff like that. Just try and get any residues out and get the dust out and stuff like that, and just try and just get it all nice again. I mean, it could just be there was a bit of label stuck between that roller and this, and maybe that's locking that roller up, because the torque on that is quite high, so it wouldn't surprise me if that's what it was. So I'll just clean all this out. I mean, there's a bit of residue on the back of this plate here I'm trying to get off. So I'll clean it all up. I'll probably get a vacuum out, get the dust out of it so it's all nice, and then I'll put a little bit of oil on that stepper motor shaft on the back here, on the back bearing, because I could actually get a bit of oil in there, so hopefully that'll help feed it up a bit. These all look fine, I'm not worried about these. So I've cleaned it up, put it back together, and I've got no way of testing it. It's got an encoder on there, interesting. It's got marks on the back of that wheel. See those? Little black lines. Optical encoder on it, so you can see when it's turning. Because that means it detects when the ribbon runs out by noticing that it stops turning. I think I've done all I can. I can't really do any more than this. I'll show the video I've got. So here we go. Hope you can see it okay. Yeah, so hopefully it doesn't happen again. That's all I've got to go by, is the fact that it was doing that. Having the gears being a bit stiff is a little bit suspicious, but I can't really attribute it to anything. So, probably fine. I can't really say, hey, you know, that's definitely bad. I mean, this is a clutch, that's why this is stiff. It's got, you know, a built-in clutch up here, so it's got a certain amount of drag on it, so it will try and always overdrive and slip a little bit. So that being a bit stiff is not unsurprising. I mean, I don't know. Let's test this thing out. I just realised I've got the power supply for this, so I can't actually print because I've got no software or anything. I mean, probably it's possible to do that, but I'm not going to waste my time with that. It has a feed button on the front, so I'm hoping that I can just push that button and have the label come out. If it does, then it's fixed. If it doesn't, it's not. Okay. Why does it run backwards? That was curious. Let's do this again. So I pulled some label through. Let's turn the power on. Do feed. Yeah, that ain't right. Why on earth is it doing that? Well, that's curious. Okay, I've taken labels out now. Do this again. Yeah, this is still not fixed. Pretty sure it's not supposed to go backwards. Never done a label for it to go backwards, it was go forwards. So in that video I showed you before, that little clip, it was trying to feed backwards, which is how it's had these labels get tangled up in here and get stuck, because it's obviously, as it's back fed, it's then pushed it down, and then the label stuck to this roller, then it's got dragged around. So that's obviously how that's all happened. But that shouldn't be going backwards. That should be going forwards. Ooh, this is a bit more serious than I thought it was going to be. I think this has got a motor or drive problem. Well, let's pull it apart again and let's have a close look. So these are the connectors that go onto the board. That's the motor connector. It's actually labelled. So see, that's motor. Cutter is obviously an option, it's not plugged in. Ribbon, so it's a sensor. And then we've got media as well. And peeler. So I might just follow those wires and make sure they go to the right place and stuff like that. But what I'm looking at here is that you've got the motor controller. You've got some connections here. Got some capacitors. Smooth, which will be obviously to reduce noise. We've got some diodes. Serious diodes. So, do you think they go to this chip just here, which could be an H-bridge? Possibly. So that's a failure, so let's pull the board out and actually dismantle further than I had before. So I've taken this earth wire off that point. There's another one over here I've got to get to. We've got to get these plugs out. They look like they're all different sizes or different colour coded and stuff, so I'm not too worried about that. And it's all fairly obvious, so I think it's easy not to mess this up. Okay, that's all those plugs out. I think there might be the board out now as well. Looks that way. It kind of wants to come out. What's holding that? Ah, nothing. There we go. So there's the board out. What I wanted to do is check all these solder joints, make sure they look okay. I checked those diodes already and they were okay. Couldn't fault those. So we'll just have a look over the board. It could just be a solder joint problem or something like that. Vibration, what have you, causing bad joints. So let's have a close look around. And I think I found something. So these are the sockets down the side for those little connectors, which go to the various drives and sensors and stuff. They look okay, so that one which isn't populated. That one there looks kind of alright. That one there looks alright. That one there looks alright. So the actual sockets, which is what I thought might be the problem, are okay. This is where the back of the diodes are. That's where the diodes are there. Now one of those looks a bit dodgy. The second one over. So the third one over, second from the right. The top one looks like it's got a crack. Kind of see. I don't know if you get the light right, maybe you'll see it, but it looks like it's looking a bit dodgy. And then down here, I've checked this big row down here, that has seemed alright. But we've got this wire here. Check this wire out. Why is it like that? So that's a bit interesting. Let's keep looking, see if we can find anything else. And it's quite a large wire, which means it's actually designed to carry current. This is the input jack, power jack. There's no signs of problems with that anyway, but always pays to have a look at those. It looks fine. I mean, I can't really see much as far as bad joints and stuff. Not much on this board. It's actually pretty good, surprising. Yeah, they seem okay. I can't really fault those. Just trying different lights and different angles and stuff like that. Yeah, they look alright. Got some stitching there. Also on that side. It looks okay. Well, I just checked conductivity and it seemed okay, but I was going to resolder it anyway because I just don't trust it. And the interesting thing is that cracked looking diode leg which I saw, which I was suspicious about, that's the same line. So is that a coincidence that that looks a bit burnt out and that leg of that diode looks a bit dodgy? Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to resolder these wires because it could be a high current problem. So all those wires which go through to that circuitry from those diodes, I'm going to resolder the whole lot. And just be sure that they're all good. That way there's no risks about it and you never quite know otherwise. If you resolder it then you know it's going to be alright. Just start up here and work my way down. So yes, I've stuck plenty of flux on there, I want it to flow through, and I don't know if it's leaded or unleaded solder that's on here. It's probably unleaded, which makes me suspicious. It does look a bit dull on a connector, stuff like that, so it likely is to be unleaded. Just resoldering all these ones. Fair time to soak through the board. And these ones over here. But the fact that the motor's running backwards means it's probably a motor control problem, but I know they're not a single connection, they're multiple connections, and if they are anything like 3-phase, if you have a phase missing or phase reversed, it will go backwards. So I'm going to go on the same principle as 3-phase. So even though I've resoldered that via, it wasn't very good, I wasn't happy with it. So what I've done is I've actually put a tiny little thin wire through that via, poke it through. You can see it's still protruding, I haven't cut that side off yet. I'll flip over the other side. And there is the other side there, which I've just done. So the wire's already been cleaned off that side. So that side's looking much better now. And I can't see anything else in that area which looks dodgy. I mean, everything seems fine there. So I'm just guessing it's the bad via. I mean, I don't know, it could be bad. So I'll trim that off and we'll put it back together and we'll see if it works. I will be surprised. I'll put it back together, let's retest it again. Well, obviously I haven't got a top half on, but you know, good enough. Let's see what happens. Well, it's not making the happy noise, is it? So I pulled a gear off the side there, took the little E-clip off it and pulled one of the gears off and just trying to determine which part of it's all stiff. And it is definitely a stepper motor which is stiff. And what I've noticed by just doing it by hand, there's spots where it's really locking in, it's really savage, those steps in it. And it shouldn't really be that bad. And as I turn it, eventually I'll actually find a spot but it will eventually freeze up. It's not consistent, it's not always the same place. But as I'm turning, I'll find a spot where it gets a bit easier and it feels like a normal stepper motor where it's just got very gentle steps in it. You know, this is really hard. You can probably see how it's stepping quite hard there. But eventually I'll actually get a spot where it frees up. So I actually think that the problem is the stepper motor. This just feels really stiff and really harsh, and I think that's what's causing the problem, is where it's can't rotate properly. Like there's freed up a little bit now. Just a little bit, not much. And I think because it's going out of sequence with the control system, it ends up going out of phase with it and ends up running backwards because the magnetic field's not rotating. Or maybe even what's going inside is maybe the windings are gone and that's what's floating around in there. And maybe it's shorted out and that's what's making it go backwards, or it's lost a winding so it's open circuit which makes it go backwards too. I think this is what's wrong. This beastie here. Yeah, oh well, did what I could. So it's been about a month, I'm back onto this printer. A replacement motor has arrived. This is a used motor, it's not a brand new one, but I managed to find one on AliExpress of all places. Hopefully this will be the right one with the right voltage ratings and that sort of stuff. So let's pull it apart again, put the new motor in and see if it will work. Also don't forget to click like and subscribe. I started getting it apart. Obviously you already took the top cover off. I think I showed this earlier in the video, so I thought I'd just show you getting this bit out though. Was over a month ago when I last worked on this thing, so I don't remember what I actually showed previously. Now I need to get to this motor here and take this off. Now, I might be able to do this without stripping anything else out. Right, so there's the plug which I've already unplugged, I think. Yes. Well, I should be about the same length, it is. So all I'll do is get those two screws there off and I should just be able to swap it out. Okay, there's the motor out. So here's a replacement motor. Now I think the replacement's been cleaned because the sticker is discoloured. I can see the word EPOCH on there just, and I can kind of see a few numbers. I can see some 2s in there. So I'm pretty sure it is exactly the same one. Let's do a comparison side by side. Looks the same. White colour matches. You know, I think physically it all looks exactly the same. Same pinion. Yes, same pinion pitch. So that looks fine. So I'm going to drop this new one in and we can go from there. Let's get a screw on here. Okay, I'm going to do it up until I get the second screw in. I'll just make sure that's pushed together onto the other gear there. So it's pushed up as tight as I can, so it's got a good fitment. Then give that a nice nip up. Now it's only going to plate steel, which has been pressed, so I can't do it too tight, otherwise you end up stripping it out. But that should now be good enough. Make sure we line this up, put it back in place. Make sure there's no wires pinched. There probably are. There's wires everywhere in this thing. Yep, sure enough, there's some wires pinched. That's why you check. Put the screws back in again, and I'll come back. And just there's that yellow plug, which just has to plug into. Well, the yellow socket. So push that in. There we go. That's all in. And put the top cover back on again. Okay, so I don't think I showed this in the previous video, so we hook this over the front edge and kind of wiggle it around to get things in place and lined up, because it's got this panel here, it's got to go through there. There we go, that's slid backwards, back has got an overhang on it, so now this will be screwed back together. Put these bottom screws in. This screwdriver only just reaches. I need to get some decent long screwdrivers, long reach ones, which will go down skinny holes. I've got a longer screwdriver, but I can't get down a hole because it's skinny. Now the other hole is actually bigger. I've done one small hole, one big hole, which is a bit strange. Normally when you design something, you make all the holes the same size. Anyway, done. This should now work, hopefully. Now the problem I've got is I don't have any label here. Label was supposed to be in it. I don't have. So I've asked to get some label from the people which own this, and they're going to give me some label. So the next clip will be me testing it with the labels. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Well, seeing as this motor is knackered anyway, let's do an autopsy on it. Let's try and pull it apart. It's got these press pieces here on this back ring, so I can get those out. These aren't really getting in there though. Kind of is. So I've got these little fingers I've got to try and get bent out. So I'll go around and take all these out. You can see what I'm trying to do here, so it's bent out a little bit. Do that on all these, we'll see if we can get this rear ring out. On the front side I've also got these rivets, but I think that's really only for that front plate. I think I'm going to take it apart from the back. Alright, so I've basically tried to push all of these out. We'll see if we can get any progress of actually getting to move. It's wanting to come out. I'm not too worried about destructively opening this up because it is definitely knackered. I mean, if I can fix it it'd be great, but I don't think I'm going to be seeing that kind of thing happening. I'd be really surprised if it is possible to fix it. I highly doubt it will be. Okay, here's the rear cover. There's some washers just fell out, little spacers. Some spring tensioners. There's another washer. So there is the main piece there, which is not sitting too well. I actually think it's detached. I need to get this pinion off here somehow. That's not going to be easy. But basically what I've got here is it's just... I actually think the magnet on the outside of that is detached. And that's why it's doing that. Let's see if I can get this apart further. Okay, let's manage to get the pinion off. Let's try and get the bush out now. There we go. There's another spacer, a washer, and that's the actual assembly there. So all we've really got is these like slip rings in here, like this, and in here we have this interesting arrangement for the coils. See those? So for some reason these rings on here, this one here was turning. It's actually not tight. So, see this? Maybe that's what the problem is, it's gone out of sync. Because sometimes it's fine, other times it really wasn't. This other one's tight. So I don't think this was that easy to fix, because you have to get this position exactly right. There you go. So this ring is supposed to be glued on and it's come off. and so it's not in the right place anymore. I mean, it is a magnet, or is at least magnetic. So yeah, that is stuck to the hammer as well. So it's a magnetic ring, and obviously the poles matter, otherwise it won't be in the right place, and because it's spinning it's causing all kinds of problems. Yeah, so I think what's happened is this has rotated on here, it's come loose, rotated, gone out of phase with the motor, which then made it bind up more. So let's put this back in like that, and that's really stiff on there. I think it's just binding that's gone out of sync. So trying to fix that would be interesting. I mean, it's probably is possible, but I wouldn't really know how. It's fun getting this pinion off. It was a really tight fit. Anyway, got it off. I think that's all that's gone wrong, is that that ring had come off, and so it was out of sync with the magnets. This bottom ring is secure. That explains why sometimes it felt fine and it actually kind of wanted to go, and then other times it suddenly failed. That's why there'd be that rotating around on that pinion. Was it armature? I don't know. It'll have a name on it. What's it called? I don't know. It'll have a name for it, but yeah. Come unglued, that's what's wrong. So I'll just leave this outer ring off, and there's the inside, there's the windings. So got some decent enamel wire in here, that's worth keeping just for that. Let's try and pop this out. I'm just cutting it and I'm just trying to leave this out. There we go. There's one half. There's the other half. I've obviously broken all the ferrite with the housing stuff when I'm moving this around, but there's the two windings. Nice. Nice little scorson wire there. Looks like this motor works, otherwise it's screwed. I'll just pop this wire off. There you go. Nice little coil of enamel wire. That'd be handy for some project in the future. Really handy. Good hookup wire and bodge wire and things like that. It's quite a nice size too. There you go. There's the inside of a stepper motor. That's interesting. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. Right, labels have arrived. I've installed them in the machine. It's on a roll like so. Let's power it up, see if it actually works. Fingers crossed. I've obviously fed it through. You have to, I'll show you this. You have to lift this up and you feed the labels through. Get in the right place. Right, let's turn this on. Power. Ready? Okay. Let's push the feed button, see what happens. Well, that looks promising. Just doing a label calibration thing. Right, so the label's right on the edge. See if it does the same thing again. Yep, right on the edge. Right on the edge. Yep, it's looking consistent. Yes, on the edge. On the edge again. Excellent. It is fixed. Wow, that is an unusual fault. Having a stepper motor coming apart internally is what caused the fault. How rare is that? Very interesting indeed. Very interesting. Anyway, it's fixed, so excellent. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. And this is for Woofle's pet food. Woofle's natural pet food. Maybe go and buy some stuff from them. There's the address, woofles.co.nz. Go and check them out, because after all, they're getting some content for my channel. Bye.